She sat quiet in a room full of men who never believed her. But when they called her a fraud, her scars told the truth. And behind that silence was a war no one wanted to admit had ever existed. The fluorescent lights in the church basement flickered like they weren't sure if they wanted to stay alive. .12 veterans sat in a loose circle. Men mostly. White, loud, restless. The kind of men who shook hands too hard and wore caps with metal stitched into the fabric, like proof of who they used to be. And then there was her, Maya Brown, black, quiet, grease-stained from a long shift at the auto shop. She sat by the window, always the window, always 5 minutes early, always watching. No one really asked her why she came. She never shared war stories like the others. She just listened calm, steady, until tonight. Billy Dorsey, former Army sergeant turned walking beer belly, was mid-monologue, bragging about a solo raid in Kandahar where, according to him, he took out 10 insurgents with a busted M4 and a prayer. The others chuckled. Some nodded like they knew better but let it slide. But Maya, she didn't flinch. Her jaw tense like it had heard enough lies for one night. "That's not how it goes," she said, voice low but sharp. Billy blinked. "Say what now?" "You don't just walk into a compound alone. Not without Overwatch. Not without extraction plans. You ain't Rambo. You'd be dead in 5 minutes." The room stiffened and he laughed nervously, then leaned forward like he was aiming at her with his voice. "Oh, come on now, Maya. You change spark plugs for a living. What would you know about ops?" Everyone turned. She never talked about herself. Never had to. Her silence had become part of the room. Something unspoken, maybe sacred. She stood slowly, not raising her voice. "I was in Syria. 2019. Our unit was sent in to extract hostages near Al-Kamishli. But it was a trap. They were waiting for us." Billy scoffed. "Yeah, right. Let me guess. You were SEAL Team 6-2. Huh." She stared right through him. "Team 7. Black Ops. We were ghosts before we ever got there." Laughter burst across the room. Sharp, mean, uncomfortable. Billy grabbed his phone. "Enough of this. This is stolen valor. I'm reporting it. This ain't some movie. You don't get to play dress-up sweetheart." Maya didn't move. "You want to hear what real war sounds like?" Her voice cracked, not from fear, from memory. It's the silence after the blast, when your ears stop ringing but your best friend's gone. It's hearing your own name scream through blood-soaked walls while you wait to die. It's praying they kill you before they ask another question. The laughter stopped. Even Billy looked unsure. It's 4 months in a box too small to stretch your legs, eating cockroaches and chalk dust while they break your bones and your mind. And when they're done, they send you back to a country that pretends you never left. She pulled back her sleeve. .3 scars. Deep, faded, carved like someone meant them to last forever. They gave me a job fixing engines. Told me not to talk about what happened. Told me the war I fought and never existed. And that's when the double doors burst open. Military police. Flashlights. Shouts. They slammed her to ground. Zip-tied her hands behind her back. "Maya Brown, you're under arrest for impersonating a service member. You have the right to remain silent." And in that moment, lying face down on the cold tile floor, she wasn't a soldier or a hero or a mechanic. She was just a black woman being dragged out in front of white men who'd never believed her. But the scars on her arm, they remembered everything. Detective Ray Walker stared at the closed door of interrogation room, be like it owed him answers. .3 days. That's how long Maya Brown had been in custody. And not once had her story changed. No paperwork. No official records. No DD-214. No discharge. No benefits. No fingerprints in any military system. To the state, to the military, to the United States of America, Maya Brown did not exist. Ray had handled plenty of fake vets before. They always cracked. Always. Some slipped up on terminology. Others folded under pressure. Most were just attention junkies, chasing medals they never earned. But Maya, she knew things. Too many things. First red flag? Hour 2 of the interview. Ray leaned back, testing her like he always did. "So, tell me about your experience with tactical fog suppressors in urban recon." Maya blinked once, then smirked. There's no such thing as a tactical fog suppressor. That's something you made up watching late-night action movies. Ray's jaw clenched. And urban recon is vague as hell. Are you referring to MOUT environments? Or did someone just teach you buzzwords and hope you'd fool a rookie? She didn't flinch, didn't gloat, just spoke like someone who knew what bullets felt like under her ribs. Ray brought in backup. Sergeant Laura Fisk, 20 years in Army intelligence, 3 tours in Afghanistan. A hard woman who never believed a word out of anyone's mouth until they earned it. She grilled Maya for 37 minutes. Basic, advanced, counterinsurgency, escape protocol. Every answer Maya gave was dead on. Fisk leaned in one final test. Described the sound of incoming mortar fire. Maya looked up like she was back there. Depends on distance. If it whistles first, you might have time to duck. But if it's close, the kind meant for your soul, there's no warning. It just arrives. Fisk went pale. She pulled Ray outside and whispered, "Either that woman is a better liar than I've ever seen, or she's telling the truth." Ray couldn't sleep that night. His instinct screamed one thing, but the system said another. How could someone know this much and still not exist? The next day, Maya sat motionless behind the glass, her hands folded like a monk, her face unreadable. "You want to tell me how you got through SEAL training without a file?" Ray asked. Maya tilted her head. "Who said I went through it the usual way?" He leaned closer. "Tell me about your unit." She met his gaze with fire in her voice that there's no unit to tell. No medals. No name. No grave. We were shadows. 12 women trained for black missions. Ones even Congress doesn't know about. Our files were sealed before we even left the country. You ever try finding a ghost in A? Graveyard full of secrets, detective. Ray swallowed. Then give me proof. Maya rolled up her left sleeve. That scars AT first. They looked random, ugly, healed over. But then she traced them with her finger and numbers appeared. "Coordinates," she said. "Cut into my arm with broken glass. One set is where we were held. One is where the others are buried. And one marks the weapons they were planning to use next." Ray stared at her arm like it was a map carved by pain. "This is crazy." "No," she whispered. "What's crazy is you locking up a black woman for telling the truth, while the ones who erased me still walk free." He leaned back slowly, as she was lying. She was the best con artist in American history. But if she was telling the truth, then someone high up had buried a truth this country never wanted unearthed 200 miles away. Admiral Naomi Reeves dropped her coffee mug. The hot liquid spread across her polished desk like spilled blood on a battlefield map. Her aide had just whispered the name she hadn't heard in 5 years. "Ma'am, it's Maya Brown. She's in custody. Arrested for impersonating a SEAL. There's a detective asking questions about classified operations." Admiral Reeves didn't speak, didn't blink, just stood. "I'll be there in 2 hours." No one stopped her, because no one outdrank the silence that followed the name Maya Brown. The drive from D.C. to Hilton County gave her time to rehearse the lie, but the truth was already clawing at her throat. Unit 77. 12 women trained for a mission that would never be recorded. Special operations so deep, they didn't leave footprints. They were weapons in human skin. And Maya, call sign Echo, had been the sharpest blade. Until Syria. Until the mission. Until the ambush. The world was never supposed to know about what happened that night in the desert, when the intel was wrong, when their exfil never came, when someone on the inside sold them out. The official report, all Kia, bodies unrecoverable, families given flags in silence. But Admiral Reeves knew better, that she'd written the order to bury every file, every trace. She'd stared into Maya's mother's eyes and told her that her daughter had died bravely. Now that ghost was back. She stormed into the small-town police station like she still commanded a warship, her uniform crisp, dark, decorated. Part of the room like scripture. Detective Ray Walker met her near the front desk, stunned at "Where is she?" Reeves cut him off. He blinked. "She's an interrogation bee. I wasn't expecting. You weren't supposed to. Because this was never supposed to happen." Ray walked her down the hallway, rambling about due process and lack of records. She let him talk. Her mind was on the scars on the woman who should be dust, but somehow endured. She's been in there 3 days, Ray said. Won't break, won't change her story. She says you erased her, that you made her disappear. Naomi stopped outside the mirror glass. Maya sat alone. Her hair was shorter now, her frame thinner, but her posture still straight, still soldier. She was supposed to be dead. Reeves whispered. Ray looked at her sideways. She said something else, too. What? She said you were the one who killed her. The words hit like a gut punch wrapped in truth. Reeves didn't respond. Didn't need to. Some guilt lives so deep it doesn't even bleed anymore. She stepped inside the room, locking the door behind her. That no cameras, no recording, no witnesses. Just the ghost of a woman the world forgot, and the officer who made that ghost. Maya looked up. Her face broke. Admiral Reeves, her voice cracked like old wood. They told me you were dead. No, Reeves said softly. You were. Maya stood slowly, her hands trembling. I waited for someone to come. For 5 years. Instead, you gave me a name that wasn't mine. A job I didn't choose. And a silence too heavy to carry. Reeves didn't defend herself, because there was no defense. Let me see your shoulder, she said. Maya hesitated, then pulled her shirt to the side. Beneath a worn butterfly tattoo, a black anchor, a trident, and a number etched below .77. Reeves exhaled like her soul had been holding its breath for 5 years. You're really alive. Tears streamed down Maya's cheeks. No thanks to you. Outside the room, Detective Ray stared at the one-way glass. He couldn't hear them anymore. The Admiral had scrambled the mics. But he didn't need sound. He saw Maya's tears. Saw the way Reeves leaned forward, like she was breaking from the inside out. Whatever they were saying, it wasn't part of any protocol. Inside, silence was the heaviest thing in the room. Maya's voice finally broke it, quiet, sharp. Why? Reeves looked down at her hands. They used to sign battle orders. Now they trembled like they remembered the weight of every name she buried. You weren't just soldiers, she said. You were the future. Unit 77 was proof that the old rules didn't apply anymore. 12 women, trained to infiltrate, disappear, return without a trace. You were everything we needed and everything they feared. Maya laughed bitterly. And when we got burned, you threw us in the fire to protect the plan. The plan failed, Reeves whispered. No, Maya snapped. You failed. Reeves looked like she'd aged 10 years in that chair. The mission was compromised. We didn't know how deep the betrayal went. If we had investigated publicly, it would have exposed programs that don't officially exist. The fallout would have buried the entire Department of Defense. So instead you buried us, Maya said. Her voice wasn't just pain now, it was rage. I buried Rodriguez. Watched them drag Jada by her braids while she screamed for her mama, and you were worried about paperwork. They told us all of you were dead. Reeves began. You believed them because it was easier. Maya cut in. You told my mother I died a hero. You stood at her porch with your ribbons and lies. And I was still in a cage in Syria, being reminded every day that my country didn't care enough to come. Reeves wiped the tears she didn't want anyone to see. I gave the order, she said finally, to bury the records, to give you a new life. I thought I was protecting you. You weren't, Maya said. You were protecting yourself. Reeves closed her eyes. She didn't argue. Outside, Ray leaned closer to the glass. He didn't know who Maya was, but he knew one thing. She had survived something that would have broken gods. Maya sat down slowly. Her voice was calm again, but it had the weight of 5 years of silence behind it. You want to know what happened that night, Admiral? You want to hear about the mission you erased? Reeves nodded and Maya told her. They dropped into Syria under moonlight. 12 women, 12 ghosts. Swimming from a sub 2 miles to shore. Their target was a compound holding American hostages. At least, that's what the intel said. But the guards were too relaxed. The security too perfect. It smelled wrong, but it was already too late. The first IED took out communications. The second collapsed the roof, and then the screaming started. They didn't want to kill us, Maya said, staring at the wall like it still held echoes. They wanted us alive. They wanted to study us, how American women fought, how we were trained, how far we could break. Reeves swallowed. We tried to find you. No, Maya said flatly. You tried to forget us. Maya had lasted the longest .6 hours alone, sniping from the rubble. 11 kills before they got her. They broke her arm, shot her in the leg, tied her up, and loaded her into the back of a truck. And then, for months of silence, screams, darkness, they made us watch each other, Maya whispered. Every time someone broke, the rest of us had to see it. It wasn't about torture. It was about erasing who we were. Reeves looked away. But I didn't break, Maya said, fire now rising in her voice. I memorized everything. Every face. Every hallway. Every grave. And you escaped, Reeves said softly. With a piece of concrete, Maya replied. I killed 3 guards. Walked 47 miles with a dislocated shoulder and bleeding lungs. Followed the North Star like Harriet did, because no one was coming for me. Reeves opened her tablet, typed in a code. The screen flickered and Maya froze .12 photos. 12 women. Alive. Jada, now a gym instructor in Houston. Rodriguez, a nurse in Seattle. Amari, a librarian in Vermont. All ghosts. Just like her. They're alive. Maya whispered. Reeves nodded. We pulled them out. 72 hours after you escaped. Your trail led our forces to the compound. We got them back because of you. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Then why the hell did you let me rot? Because I didn't know you survived, Reeves said. And by the time we found out, too many men in power had too much to lose. Maya looked at the screen again, her sisters, her team, her lost history. And something she hadn't felt in years cracked open inside her chest. Not anger, not grief, but hope. The door creaked open. Detective Ray stood in the hallway, speechless, as Maya stepped out beside Admiral Reeves. .no cuffs, .no charges. Just a silence that carried more power than any courtroom. Case dropped, Reeves said flatly. On my authority. Ray opened his mouth, but a look stopped him cold. Inside the room, the tablet still glowed. 12 women frozen in time, alive but rewritten. Outside, the world still spun as if it hadn't erased a unit that never officially existed. They gave Maya a new identity that day. Again, but this time it came with a key card, a voice in the Pentagon, a mission that was no longer buried under shame. 1 week later, a black van rolled up to a secure facility outside D.C. 12 women stepped into the same room for the first time since the desert swallowed their names. NO1 spoke. At first some stared. Some wept. Maya stepped in last. They looked at her like she was a myth. She looked back and nodded. I told her we existed, she whispered, and the ghost, once forgotten, began to breathe again. In the months that followed, Maya became more than a ghost. She became a reckoning. The program was reinstated, not in the shadows this time, but with oversight, protection, and names that wouldn't be buried if they fell. Unit 77 was no longer a secret. IT was a warning that the government could erase soldiers, but they could never erase what those soldiers remembered. Maya stood at the graveyard one rainy morning, not to mourn, but to speak. She knelt at a headstone that bore the name Maya Brown. Yes, they had declared her dead once. But this time she came back to claim the truth. A bouquet in her hand, a folded flag under her arm. You told him I was a lie, she whispered, rain soft on her cheek. But I was the proof that scared you. She placed the flag on the soil. For Jada, for Rodriguez, for every sister who bled in silence. At the Pentagon, Admiral Reeves stood before a black wall, newly installed. Names carved in matte steel. NO metals. No colors, just initials and numbers, the way Maya had requested. Because ghosts don't need glory, she'd said. They just need to be remembered. And beneath that wall, etched in hard silence, Unit 77, confirmed, not forgotten. Back of the garage, Maya still fixed engines, still wiped grease on her jeans, still worked quiet shifts. But now, every now and then, young black girls walked in asking about enlistment, about possibility, and she'd smile, eyes heavy with history. Just know what you're fighting for, she'd say, and never let them bury your story. Because in the end, she wasn't just a soldier. She was a monument made of scars, and she had survived the kind of war they don't put in textbooks.